Okay. Disclaimer, forgive me for the randomness of this video. Probably the length. I don't know how long it's gonna be. And it'll probably be all over the place because I'm recording it on the fly. But I was just on YouTube and I rarely ever check my YouTube notifications because I ignore them. I hate notifications, so I usually just probably just click that bell and like clear them all out, or just click it just so that the thing goes away. But today I clicked it and saw that I had a new comment on the video that I did about being on VIIBRYD. And I definitely didn't know that it had hit over 1,000 views. And I saw that there had been comments that I hadn't seen before. And one of them said that I should do more updates on it, which I should definitely, because in my mental health, I've gone through a lot of people's YouTube videos concerning their mental health, especially fellow Black women. And so, yes, I should include my voice in that more often to help people like me who are looking for, yes, help. I am also currently I am manic right now. And so my thoughts are consistently racing. I am talking and it will bounce from subject to subject or whatever. So I will try to make this as concise as possible. But I wanted to get on here and do this now, because I know if I had just wrote it down to say, oh, do an update video, I would have put too much thought into it. I would have just put it on my long list of to do things to do, and it probably just would not have gotten done. Definitely wouldn't have gotten done anytime soon. So I will do that now. Just do a general update. First, I am no longer on VIIBRYD. Back in January, that's when I recorded the video, did the update about being on VIIBRYD. And at that point, I think I was 6 months in. Honestly, it's a blur and I didn't rewatch the video to remember. But I'm no longer on it because I am pregnant. Yeah, 7 months pregnant. And I stopped taking VIIBRYD around the time I found out I was pregnant, which I found out late April, but I think I started weaning off of it in May or June. So I think I made it another 5 or 6 months on it. That timeline is shaky right now. So about a year on VIIBRYD. I actually got off of it because not only because I was pregnant, but because it seemed to stop working. I was becoming more depressed. My depressive episodes were lasting a bit longer and they were a bit more extreme. And my thinking was that, excuse me, excuse me. Yeah, I'm not editing it, so y'all gonna see that. But I forgot what I was saying. Well, that's awkward. I forgot what I was saying. But whatever. I'm off of it now. Yeah, damn, what was I saying? I'm off of VIIBRYD. At the time, I was looking into trying to find a new therapist. I mean, not a new therapist. I love my therapist. My therapist is Black. Um, a new psychiatrist, because I felt like with COVID and everything going on, I felt like there was more going on and I could not receive the type of care that I wanted from the psychiatrist that I had. It was very much so, you're in and out in 5 minutes. I'm rushing you through your appointment. I am just going to send in your refill, and that's pretty much it. Often late, very hard to get an appointment, but that's the more specialized a medical professional is, the harder it is to get an appointment. So I had decided even before then that I was going to start looking for a new psychiatrist. But at that point, before I got off of it, I didn't know if I wanted to get off of it or see if I needed to increase my dose. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the update with that. Weaning off of it, I weaned myself off because, like I said, I was looking for a new psychiatrist. That was peak COVID, so nobody was seeing new patients, and if they were seeing new patients, they didn't have appointment times. I think the earliest I could get to someone was that was back in April. The earliest I could get to someone was like June. I now wish I would have kept in contact with that one because clearly it's October now and I still don't have a new one, so I could have kept that one, but that's beside the point. Yeah, so no one was taking new appointments. If they were months ahead. And at the time I was there's no shame behind it, but I feel like saying I was suicidal, when I think about it, it seems inaccurate, but it's hard to explain. But I was having frequent suicidal ideations, and the moment that let me know that I needed to hurry up and get a handle on things is, constantly thinking about it, not having a plan, but driving and saying, well, doing 90 and saying, well, I can just close my eyes and turn around this corner and bam, it'll look like an accident. Or, I don't want to go into more details because sometimes hearing that for someone who is currently suicidal, it triggers them or, all that other stuff. So I don't want to be a trigger for anyone else. But I was having a lot of suicidal thoughts around that time. So I needed to see someone sooner than that. But eventually I was diagnosed with Bipolar Disorder II. I kind of diagnosed myself and then my therapist confirmed it. I've avoided a bipolar diagnosis for years now. One night when I now realized that I was manic, went through all of my journals dating back to, I think the earliest is 2011. So almost 10 years worth of journals. It's about 4 or 5 of them. I have video journals, so I went through, and those go back to 2012. So years of video journals. Yeah, and just I wrote up this, in my phone it was 6 pages, but then when I looked at it on the computer, I think it was 3 page document of basically explaining to my therapist how and why I knew I was bipolar. And I it's funny when I think about it now because it was complete with here's the proof, and like listing examples in times of my life where like the symptoms of bipolar I either currently or previously or continuously experience, examples, and then like sample journal posts. Like this was a paper. Yeah, and so I could do a whole video on that, like getting to that point. But I want to keep this semi brief. Why did that just make me emotional? I wanted to keep that semi brief, but yeah. So eventually, that led to bipolar 2 diagnosis. And I read, when reading up on it, I read a lot of times it does take years to get diagnosed with bipolar disorder because it mimics so many other things, and people often get misdiagnosed before they get the correct diagnosis. So I was misdiagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I know for me it was because my depressive episodes were more clear, more obvious, and longer than my manic or hypomanic episodes. But once I knew what I, not kind of knew what I was looking for, but just put two and two together, I made four, and I was like, oh, okay, these are times where I can identify that I was manic. And I think for me, because I'm so high functioning, for a while, I came to make, I don't know if cherish is the word, but appreciate my manic stages, because it was fun mania. I was able to get more done. Get more done. That sounds not right. Get more accomplished, done, whatever. But I was also more confident and more, that had that grandiose feeling of just life, period. Like, I am on top of the world. This isn't a bad thing. So I'm not even going to pay attention to the fact that this could be telling me that there's something else going on. And then the times where I did take a step back and say, well, that's bipolar disorder. It's like, nah, not me. Yeah. So during that, I am currently pregnant, so I had to make the decision of whether I wanted to start new medication for bipolar disorder while pregnant, or if I wanted to wait until I delivered. I decided that at this current time, even when it gets like rough, and it's definitely been rough times in the last 7 months, but forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, I did say if it got too rough, I would try, but and there are pregnancy safe medications, but just to remain better safe than sorry, I decided to wait it out. So I am at a point that I'm just like, I miss being on medicine. I want to be back on medication. I appreciate what it did for me mentally, and so I will begin that process again of getting back on medication once I deliver. I'm due on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2021. So hopefully sometime in late January, maybe even before then, I can start the journey of getting back on medication. I can't remember if I talked about actually weaning off of VIIBRYD. But it's been a while, so I can't really remember too much of the process, but I know I looked up online how people are typically weaned off of it. So I didn't go cold turkey. I just slowly cut down my dose until I wasn't taking it. And I think that helped with the weaning process, the withdrawal process not being as extreme. I did have, the moodiness, mood swings. I did have itching again, when I was going through withdrawal from that, I did have the brain fog, extreme brain fog. I was extremely tired, more agitated, irritable, irritable as hell. Uh, and honestly, I don't know if that was more the bipolar or the withdrawal, but I'm sure it was a combination of the two at times. And I'm trying to think. Again, I didn't prepare for this video, so I didn't like look back at journals or anything to see what was happening. But I do remember that it was, I don't want to say relatively easy, but it was easier than I thought it would be, the withdrawal process for VIIBRYD. And I did read that it's much milder than other medications because it is a newer medication. And I wasn't on that high of a dose anyways. And so since I think I weaned off of it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks before I like completely cut it out. Yeah. And so the number one thing I miss about being on VIIBRYD is that when I was on VIIBRYD, I still experienced like sadness and anger. I still experienced like negative emotions, but they weren't as extreme. They weren't as intense, and they didn't really they weren't like life stopping. It was like, oh, this is how normal people feel when they're sad. Like, they're sad, yeah, it sucks, but it's not like, oh, I'm sad, the world is ending, my life is crashing, and there's no reason to live. Like, it wasn't that. It was just like, oh, this sucks. Oh, man. And I think I talked about it in the last video that it was hard to cry on VIIBRYD, especially when I first started. Like, there would be times where I was like, oh, I feel like crying, but I can't cry. Right? And so especially because, things have been intense lately, I do miss the regular, like, negative emotions. Yes. Lost my train of thought again. Yeah, well, let's see, any other update on my mental health? Yeah, so next steps for my mental health, I'm still seeing my same therapist. I see her more often, more regularly now. In the beginning of COVID, it was like I upped it to weekly, especially when I was having a lot of suicidal ideations. Then went to back to every 3 weeks. Now I'm every 2 weeks. And then I also realized for myself that I needed to start being more honest with my therapist. And not that I lied to her, but a lot of times because I'm so high functioning, I'm just like, that's not a big deal. Or, I can deal with that on my own, or that's not really relevant. And so now I am making it a point to share with her those things that I was not openly sharing with her before. Yes, and it's helped tremendously because obviously she's the professional and she can give better insight into things. Something that I may have thought was insignificant, or maybe something that I thought, I could fix one way. She has another perception of it and can connect the dots for me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why I pay you. Yeah, and so we'll continue that. I kind of stopped my search of a new psychiatrist, which wasn't smart, but I just felt like I had way too much going on, and that was one thing that was stressing me out, and so I wanted to get rid of a lot of things that was stressing me out. But as I get closer to delivery, especially since I eventually want to get back on medication, I am going to continue that search again. Still working full time. I am in grad school full time. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in my life, and maybe I will make other videos, but I definitely wanted to come on here and give this update after seeing that comment on my last video. So I hope that this was beneficial. Thank you to everyone who's watched any of my previous videos, and I'm glad that people are finding that video and finding it helpful, and actually like taking steps to treat your mental health. And yeah, so I think that's all I really wanted to say. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, so I will end it here. Thank you again for watching.